Meal prepping is about preparing your food in advance, saving yourself a lot of time. And if you're going to cook on Monday and clean up after yourself anyway, why not cook more meals than just that evening?
If you go onto our socials as well, you'll see how amazing Dan has done. And this is the reason he's in the shape of his life, because he's setting the time aside to do this meal prepping and prioritizing it. I think the key thing is we talk about meal prepping. It's not about finding time. It's not about having the energy. It's about prioritizing it in your life because you know it's going to be worthwhile.
Welcome back to the PerformWell Podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're looking for performance and wellness optimization so that you can not only smash your career, but also have a better life, better relationships, and better health. We believe that performance and wellness are yin and yang and work together. So listen in as we dive into topics that are going to help you optimize your life for the better. It is time for you watching this today to find out how to find time to meal prep your food. Because, Dan, we both know our clients, they find it hard to find time to meal prep their food, cook dinners for themselves, cook good lunches, breakfast, all that good stuff. And we're here to help them.
The thing is, it's one of the most overwhelming tasks people have, isn't it? And I think it's such an easy method to seeing the success you want to see and the results you want to see. But fundamentally, there's a lot of holdbacks throughout people's days and weeks to getting meal planning in place. So what we're going to teach you today is a strategy to help you schedule and a way of actually working around your time and working it into your lifestyle. So there'll be a couple of ways here that we're going to demonstrate that you can get your meal planning into your week, and also some like alternative suggestion for those that might not have the most normal week. For example, we're talking our shift workers, we're talking people who are entrepreneurs, they don't really know where they're going to be or what they're going to be doing, and how we can fit that functioning into your life to actually see that progress that you're wanting to see by the end of this year.
Yeah, and we can clearly see by the end of this podcast today, you will see the amount of time that you have and the amount of time that you have to meal prep, and you'll realize that actually it's not impossible. You can do it.
Before we go into it though, what I want to ask you, Nick, as well, for meal prepping, I want you to ask you off the cuff, what's your favorite meal prep meal?
Meal prep meal? Are we talking about simplicity or taste?
Taste. 100% taste.
Fajitas.
Fajitas? Is that like, are we talking, you pre-make the wraps as well? Or is it like you're just having fajitas and then put it in whatever?
Yeah, pre-make them. For a second, I thought you meant make the wraps yourself. Yeah, no, I pre-make everything. So, because you can cook literally the amount of chicken you need all in one pot. You just put the flavouring in, make it taste good. You got all the peppers, the onions. And all you got to do then is just put it into some wraps, put it into some containers. You can put some cheese in them. Bomb. You've got a meal that as soon as you microwave, apart from the wrap going a bit soggy, tastes amazing. What's yours?
I think what would mine be? The thing is, we talk about versatility when it comes to meals because it's got to be something that you can do a lot with. I think chili by far is my favourite meal prep one because you can put it in pasta, you can put it in rice, you can add some like jacket potato to it. You can put it in wraps and make burritos. So you've got 4 different meals that you can make to jazz up your week as well, and gives you that kind of the alternating spectrum, shall we say, of different meals that you can try out. Plus, beef mince is notoriously reasonably okay for protein content. Chicken's always the godfather.
You just said jacket potato. Come on, man. You can literally bake a potato and then you can crush it into a crushed jacket potato. You can have a jacket potato as a whole one, or you can basically skin it and make mashed potato or chips, whatever. So many ways. Guys, potatoes are so versatile.
Right, so we are going to show you now, you're going to see something magical here, the magical of Miro, which is going to be our meal planner. So this is Miro, ladies and gentlemen. So Miro is going to be the way that we're going to demonstrate when you're doing your meal plan. This is to demonstrate a Google Calendar. If you're not a Google Calendar user, then I nearly said loser. Then we're going to give you this kind of platform, this strategy, this idea when you're doing it. Now, Nick will kind of guide you through the first steps of this.
Right, so first of all, ignore the meal preps. We're going to change these around. But first of all, we're going to go with a standard 9 to 5, right? So Monday to Friday, you work 9 to 5. It takes an hour to get to work, an hour to get home. Some people have schedules like that, all right? Some of you are going to have half an hour travel. That's fine, all right? Some of you are going to have a little bit of lunch break here. Maybe you finish work half an hour later, whatever. It's basically the most standardized work schedule that most people have. So that's what we're going to see here with the work. Now, we also need to think about sleep time. Now, I'm going to put a little thing here for this one. One sec. So let's say sleep is a nice black with white writing there. Okay. 1 second. Look at that. Perfect.
You get to see Nick's
Black is
DIY and creation
probably
skills here.
black is probably the worst color because it matches the black color. So I'm going to change it slightly to light grey. There we go. I just realised as I'm doing this that does not work very well. So let's say we sleep all the way up to 7 a.m. because some of you like to, wake up super late before you go to work. And then we go to bed at, say, 10 p.m. because some of you like to go to bed early. In fact, a lot of you probably go to bed at 11. Let's be real. Then obviously, if you don't have this every single day, you've got 1 little hour gap in the morning here for your breakfast, getting yourself ready for work. And then the evening, you have a nice 5 solid hours before we even look at the gym. All right. So most people's schedules are like this. There are going to be some differences here, but this is a standard week. Now, Dan, when it comes to gym, right? Let's say we're looking for 3 times a week. People here that are obviously trying to get in shape. There's gym's part of the equation. Where are we fitting it? Morning, evening? What do you recommend?
I mean, personally, I would go morning. Normally, that's just personal to me that morning is a little bit of a time when we build up less excuses throughout the day. I find it so much easier when you do the gym in the afternoon to build up excuses. But hey, some people watching this might be night owls. This is coming from a very driven morning human being. So I'd go gym in the morning just to kind of save faith. But then also when it comes to meal prepping in the evening, it'll also give us time when the shops are open to go and pick up any ingredients that we need to meal prep. For example, if these meal preps need to come across the week at all.
Yeah. And when it comes to time management as well, which is what we're basically doing right now, a lot of people think that it's because of time that you don't want to do something. But a lot of the time management is actually about our energy. Okay. So even though we have clearly 1 hour in the morning, we have this 5-hour block most evenings. We have the time to meal prep. We have the time to go to the gym, but most of us find it tiring to do this. And so time management is just as important when we're thinking about energy management. We need to be thinking about where we put our gym, where we put our meal prepping so that we maximize the energy we have so that we can then spend the time on the other stuff that we want to do, such as time with our family, time playing Call of Duty at home, Dan. You need time for this stuff, all right? So we need to find the energy where it's at its best in order to be able to maximize our time with our meals and gym training.
Now, when we're talking obviously about when you're going to meal prep and when you're going to fit it in, we've spoken about meal prepping a lot in the past. And fundamentally, one of the best ways you can do it is normally on a weekend, but we do understand that a lot of people don't have the time on a weekend because you also want to have your social time. So if you can get it done on a weekend, say on a Sunday, block out maybe like 3 to 4 hours, 2 to 3 hours, however long it takes you to meal prep stuff, it is possible. I've spoken to senior nurses who work in the NHS who find time to do it. I've spoken to people who own their own businesses and they're able to do it. It is possible. You just have to prioritize the time to do it. And there's going to be people still in the comment section who are like, I can't do it. In which there are other ways that we can do it. We can fit it into your week. So what the next format and the next way of doing your meal prepping throughout the week, we'll take away this little week function and we'll look at meal prepping just for a couple of days. All right, we don't have to meal prep for the whole week. It can be very overwhelming. It can be a lot to do if we're busy on weekends. Now, we spoke about obviously putting gym in the morning, like Nick's just doing lovely there. Now, one of the better methods that I do find for when we meal prepping is just meal prepping for a couple of days. So like say on a Monday, you've got you've got a busy Tuesday evening. I don't know, you've got loads of shit going on in here. Then what you can do is you can meal prep literally just 2 meals for these days. You can even do a lunch extra if you want, if you really want it. But then you've only got to worry about the 2 days. Same here, you can meal prep for 3 here and you're in a good position. Now, the key thing with all of this, and it's one key bit of information that I feel like a lot of people lack when they're doing meal prep. We're not just asking you to meal prep. We are asking you to make sure if you are looking to seriously see results before the end of this year, if you're not, then don't worry about this. Just keep doing what you're doing and dawdle along. Make sure you weigh out your food. Because there was an analogy that I saw online the other day, which is like tablespoons of Nutella, which we considered to be 1 serving, versus actually weighing it out. People overestimate by about half when they don't weigh things out. And it's why people don't see the results. So please, when you're meal prepping, little top tip from me to you is make sure you're weighing things out.
Yeah, 100%. So, and also just to obviously add in with the meal prep thing here, that like we've put it once every 2 days. that means that if you meal prep on the Monday, you're also meal prepping for that evening's dinner as well. So let's say we're cooking 2 portions on Monday. That's for Monday evening and Tuesday. On Wednesday, you then cook for 2 portions. That's Wednesday and Thursday. And then vice versa. And then if you're someone that likes to cook on a Friday, then we can do it that way as well. And there's also the option of doing 3 meals over 3 days so that you can even extend that out longer. That gives you more time on Tuesday and Wednesday and Friday, for example, to have time off and do other stuff. Like, meal prepping is about preparing your food in advance, saving yourself a lot of time. And if you're going to cook on Monday and clean up after yourself anyway, why not cook more meals than just that evening? Now, here's obviously the problem with meal preps. And Dan, I don't know if you've had this kind of excuse from a lot of people, but some people tell me they haven't got freezer space to be able to meal prep a whole week's worth of food, all right? And some people don't. I get it. Have you seen those little mini fridges with the little freezer section?
I have a little mini freezer. I tell you what, I have one right here.
Dan is one of those
on my
people.
left-hand side. Apologies for interrupting the podcast. We know you're getting fully engrossed into this episode, and we really appreciate you stopping on the video on YouTube or on Spotify if you found us through one of the search pages. Make sure to leave a review and a subscription if you haven't already. But we just wanted to interject a point here that me and Nick have 15 years of coaching experience between us, and it's only getting better as we've got better guests on the podcast. The only way we can do that, though, is with the growth of our program that we've just released. We've got a 12-month PerformWell program, which has just dropped, and we'd love you guys to get involved in it. If you want to know more details, make sure to head to the description, as we've got our website in there, which can give you a full overlay of the program. We're looking to help career-driven professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone dominate their life by improving their lifestyle. Me and Nick like to claim ourselves as experts in this area, and if you want to check out some of our other transformations, I'm sure you do. We've got some amazing people who have performed so well off the back of this program. Have a cracking day, and we really appreciate your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
So Dan's a good example of someone that probably wouldn't meal prep for an entire week. Fair enough. But if you have a freezer space, you can prep for an entire week ahead. And my client Dan, I'm not saying that he's particularly better than anyone else when it comes to meal prep. He just has the freezer space to meal prep for an entire month in advance, which is quite excessive, to be fair. But it works for him.
Yeah. And that's in a preparation point as well, because you'll see the result from Dan. If you go onto our socials as well, you'll see how amazing Dan has done. And this is the reason he's in the shape of his life, because he's setting the time aside to do this meal prepping and prioritizing it. I think the key thing is, we talk about meal prepping. It's not about finding time. It's not about having the energy. It's about prioritizing it in your life, because you know it's going to be worthwhile. We're not always going to have the energy to do these things. You need to turn around and say to yourself and have a conversation and say, hey, I do need to do this, because do I want to stay fat for life? No. Do I want to get rid of the bingo wings? Yes. Well, what you're going to need to do, you need to make sure you're on top of things. You don't have to do meal prep for forever, you know, like it's not something that fundamentally, if you enjoy it, crack on. But it's one of those things that you need to just build into your life and kind of use it as a supplement to increase the results that you're getting. Now, Nick said about my small little tiny freezer space that I do have. Now, how Nick explained it is, I actually fundamentally just prep a day in advance. So for example, if I'm just going to give you a little overview of what I would do, for example, is for my lunches and dinners, what I'll do is I'll make my lunches and dinners on this day. Fortunately, me being a business owner, obviously I've got time in the middle of the day. So I prep my lunch here and I have that across 2 days. And I just repeat that process over the course of a week, that I'm always having things in reserve. And then if I have anything left on the weekend, I will stockpile some meals here. Or I'm going to call it the lifesaver meals. So if you just want to meal prep dinner, and that's the only thing on a meal prep, we want to create ourselves some meal prep savers, some lifesavers. These can be things that you batch cook, like chilies, like curries, like Nick said with fajitas, anything that you can put into loads of Tupperware, and it can basically make it really, really easy to access if you're ever having like a majorly stressful day. And if I put a connotation, let's say Saturday, you've got about 7 bar mitzvahs and 4 weddings. Not that would ever happen. Stressful day.
Yeah, no, exactly. I like that as well. And if we're going to give you some ideas for meal preps, obviously we've already given you a few. First of all, you want to make sure that you're looking for your protein content of the meal. So the first thing I do when it comes to selecting the meal prep is thinking, am I going to have a chicken focused meal or minced beef focused meal or salmon, etc.? And let's say in this case, I'm going to go for chicken, right? So I think, right, I want 3 meals of chicken, but I don't want all the meals the same because, like many people out there, I like variety. We have the opportunity for variety, and having the same meal over and over again is boring as hell. So I'll first of all look at how much chicken I need. 1.5 kilos of chicken for 3 days. I'm a big boy. I need as much protein as I can get. So that works out very well for me. I will then obviously chop it up into the pieces that I need. I will fry it all together. So all I'm doing is frying all the chicken all together for the 3 meals. And then I will think about what I want to have with the chicken. Now that it's cooked, I can then mix it in with whatever I want. Now, in this instance, one day I'm feeling rather lazy. I'm going to get Uncle Ben's, golden vegetable rice, which is the most elite rice out there. Okay, 1 pound, put it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, it's heated up. And I will have that with the chicken and some seasoning. And that is that meal. It tastes pretty bland, for some people's tongues. Once you get used to it, it's actually really nice. Put some broccoli with it, bosh. Another meal I'll have with a creamy mushroom sauce, for example. This is just an example. And I'll cook pasta on the sides. What I'm doing while I'm making the dinner is I'm making the chicken, I'm making the pasta, and then I am putting the sauce together as well. And then if there's any other meals that I want, all I have to think about then is, can I use another meal for pasta? Maybe another pasta sauce? Or maybe I want to put, things like potatoes with my chicken, in which case I can have the chicken cooking, the pasta cooking, and the potatoes cooking, and then split it between 3 meals, and I can wash it all up, and it's done. 3 days, done. Doesn't have to be the same meal for 3 days. That's the problem with meal prepping that people think that they're going to get stuck with, is they have to use the same thing over and over again until they get bored. Don't need that.
Perfect. And actually, Nick's just created a very nice diagram here, which, do you want to speak through it a little bit, Nick?
Yeah, so for some people, here's an example of a shift schedule that some people have, all right? And this is actually taken from someone I know. Bloody awful, to be honest with you. I don't know how they do it. There's so many things wrong with this. However, that being said, if we take the fact that some people have these early shifts, these night shifts, and then the day shifts, which some people have, same thing, same amount of hours in the week, same travel. The only thing different is the time you sleep. Now, this can present, in some cases, some challenges because, as we know, circadian rhythm and sleep patterns, going from nighttime sleeping versus daytime sleeping and then back to nighttime can cause quite a few problems with how you operate. And it can make it harder to control cravings. It might make you not hungry at 1 a.m, but then suddenly when you go to bed, you're craving loads of food. There's so many things that can go wrong with this, all right? So the problem isn't time, because the time is exactly the same as the first shift pattern. The problem here is the energy is going to have to be something that you look at more. So first week you have this pattern, it might be difficult. You might just have to kind of get used to where you feel the most hungriest, where you actually want to eat your meals, and then it's about actually doing it. So as we can see here, let's just imagine that on Monday, gym, let's say the morning, go on. Dan said the morning, fuck it.
Love a morning.
Guys, try both. See what works for you. Okay. So let's say we push this back once. Maybe you get back from your shifts. You can actually then train in the gym before you go to bed. There's an option for you. And then potentially you can also do the same on, in fact, it's already here. The same on here as well. However, if you are someone that comes back from the night shift and you're feeling a little bit drained, you can go straight back to sleep. Save your gym session for when you wake up like this, but you might find that it feels weird going to the gym that late in the afternoon. We're not used to it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it is bouncing the meal times around that. So what you're going to go into next is, again, Nick said there, and it's very key you take that on board, that you do have the same time as people working other parts of the week. Yes, we can say some people have longer working weeks, but you do have the same amount of time as that 9 till 5, where it's just split up differently. So I would almost look at your weeks as we put here on a weekly basis, rather than thinking, every single week it's going to be like this, because unfortunately when you're on shifts you can't be creatures of habit. My partner does shift patterns. I know it's very difficult and challenging for her to keep a very easy routine with stuff. So when will we meal prep at this point in time? So for example, whatever day we know we're going to have the most energy to do the meal prepping, we would do that. I definitely would not suggest it after nights. If I'm totally honest, the likelihood is here you're going to be low energy because you've just had a normal sleeping pattern split up into a crazy sleeping pattern. So I would probably look at meal prepping at the start of the week and seeing what you've got there. Or if you don't work weekends, you just work shift patterns in the week, which is, I don't think I've heard of that ever. Then what you do is you'd look at obviously just doing it on the weekend when you've got Saturdays and Sundays spare. But just bear in mind that when you're splitting these, it is about energy. It's when you've got the time to prep it, because you want to make good quality food at the end of the day, and you want to make sure that your time is spent wisely. So I'd even probably go in there and say, okay, you're going to prep once there, and here we're going to do some freezer prep, some extra freezer prep on, say, a Friday when you probably got a little bit more energy because you have more sleep here, etc., etc. So just look at your weeks in that manner, that you're balancing out where you're doing your meal prepping, where you're doing your gym, where you're doing your training. And please use stuff like Google Calendar to map out your days. I find it really useful, even for tasks that I'm doing, to say I'm going to do this task for this time and this time. It makes days so much easier. They undulate a lot easier, and you're not as stressed. Same thing with gym workouts. Schedule in your gym workouts. It's so hard to say no to something if you've got a notification buzzing in your ear, okay? Make sure you try and balance this out as best you can, and also kind of find meals that work into that schedule. For me, I don't like any meals that take longer than half an hour to make. If I'm doing a meal that's longer than half an hour, I do it on a weekend to practice it, and then I bring it into my week to then learn around what works best for me. There are so many options. We've also got recipe guides available. If you guys are interested, just comment on recipe guide below, and what we can do is we can send that over to you, and also just give you a little bit of direction of where you should be going with these kind of things. If you do have any questions revolving around meal prep, or how clients like Dan have got into it, feel free to message us. We have got our socials below too, so you can just go through that. Now, what is this other glorious creation that you're creating over here at this point in time?
So obviously, yeah, anyone watching this, this is just giving you an example of what you can do in the week. Now, we want you to go away with something that you can apply yourself, so that you can actually replicate this on a weekly basis. Okay, you don't just want to follow what we've put here. You want to actually go through a system that will help you do this every week. So first of all, 9 times out of 10, I found that if we focus on putting ourselves into a calendar, we can resolve most of our problems when it comes to time management. And I'm actually blown away, Dan. I'm blown away by the amount of people that don't actually put their stuff onto a calendar. It makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm. I get so many clients that aren't doing well, that when I ask them why they aren't doing well, they tell me they're not even tracking anything. They haven't got a bloody clue where the next meal is coming in, when they're going to the gym, etc. They don't know when. They know when their work is, obviously, but they don't put it anywhere in a centralized place. First step, get yourself a calendar. Google Calendar is a great one because you get to see the whole week in advance, like we show here. And actually start color coding and putting things into your calendar that you have to do first and foremost, so then you can see how much time you have available and where you have it. So that's step 1. Now, the next step, once you put yourself together a calendar like this, start thinking, where am I going to have the most energy? Okay. And if all you got to do is have a look at this and go, right, clearly, in the morning, I'm pretty tired, so I'm probably not going to go to the gym. But when I come home, around about 3 or 4 p.m., got a little gap, bit of energy, I could potentially do some gym training or potentially do my meal prep. And now, in this part here, you put 3 or 4 p.m., you put all of your meal prep or gym time. Okay? So maybe you go gym 3 times a week and you meal prep twice a week. And therefore, the first hour when you come back from work is your admin zone. After that, you've got 4 hours all to yourself to play some COD, chill out, relax, etc. Yeah, decent.
Yeah, good. And guys, as I say, that is kind of like the kind of main structure that you're going to be looking at as well when you're doing stuff. And the last thing Nick's put on there is about meal prep options. We have spoken and given you some there, but what I'd recommend doing is doing what we call a cupboard audit. So when you're doing a cupboard audit, look at what the stuff you most commonly have in your cupboard on a week-by-week basis. Normally, they're going to be the things that you enjoy eating the most and the ones that are convenient to fit into your time. So if you find you have a lot of potatoes, you're normally going to be like a potato eater, and you will be enjoying those. So make sure that's something you include in your day-to-day life, because we're not talking about a complete overhaul of your life here. We're talking about an easy way to put this into a structure that makes it easier for you to do it. It's about foundationally doing it that's going to bring about those results later down the line. So create a cupboard audit. Once you've done your cupboard audit, make sure you chuck yourself down a list of about probably 5 to 10 meal prep options. If you're doing breakfast, lunch and dinner, I'd do probably 5 to 10 for each one, just so you got a bit of diversity in there if you ever want to change things around. I literally had a client who signed up this week who's got PCOS, and she was like, I have no idea where to start with my meal ideas. So take into consideration, obviously, your dietary requirements too at the same time. So if there's stuff in there that you really, really do enjoy and they fit within your macros, they fit within your calories, and they fit within dietary requirements, a big old tick, and they're things that we like to go for.
Perfect, mate. Perfect.
Lovely stuff.
I mean, I think we've nailed everything. We don't want to make this any longer than it needs to be. This is a super practical podcast. Go away and use it. If you don't use it, you won't be able to get any further forward on this. Okay. Let's not excuse ourselves and think that we can get away just by watching this video and then going back on our life with doing nothing. Get yourself a calendar, guys. Get yourself sorted.
Get some practical application. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. We really appreciate you. We're nearly 100 subs. If you could help us get there, that would be absolutely amazing. So make sure you drop us a sub, ring a little notification bell so you get notifications whenever we post, because we're going to be coming out every single week, even over the Christmas period as well. And just make sure you stay tuned for the big stuff that we've got planned in 2025, because we've got a lot of work coming on, and me and Nick have been working behind the scenes for some really fun stuff that's going to be coming out soon. So make sure to follow, like, subscribe, and leave us a review over on Spotify. We'll catch you guys later.
Ciao, ciao.